Okay, hello, welcome. My name is Gabrielle Pumpian. I am here with Aubrey and Heidi from Right at Home in Florida, and very excited to talk about their utilization and coming into this approach with their home care business utilizing Phoebe as an AI scheduling support system. Welcome, Aubrey and Heidi.
Hello,
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thanks. Heidi, you are the owner and president of your Right at Home franchise. Tell us a little about yourself and your history with the home care industry.
So when I started with this business, I came in with absolutely no experience in home care. It was brand new to me. I am originally from Norway, so it's public healthcare. Nothing like this exists there. So it was a steep learning curve. But hiring the right people in on your team is probably the best decision you do. So Aubrey has been with me almost as long as the company has been open. So
Wow, that's amazing. And you've had your company open for almost 10 years
yes. Yeah.
and you
Let's go over
cover,
year next month. Yeah.
congratulations. And you cover a pretty wide territory, about 4 counties. Is that correct?
Well, we cover mainly Charlotte County, so we touch into a few zip codes in the other counties. But yeah.
Okay, great. And Aubrey, tell us about you. I understand you're director of operations.
I am, yes. I've been in home care since about 99. I went and got my CNA back in 2000. Came into the office about 2013 and really have a heart for home care and helping seniors. So,
It's wonderful. Well, great. Well, I understand too, Heidi, you have a background in marketing and I would call you, considering I've done a little bit of research, a tech forward owner. And I think that's a really wonderful position to be in, especially as we're coming into this new age of AI. So I'm looking forward to hearing about how you've leveraged the technology in your business.
Yes.
So could you start out with just giving us a little context about the current state of your company and the scale of it? About how many internal employees do you have? Roughly, how many hours or whatever you'd like to share around the size of your business.
Sure. So in the office, we have two locations. So together, we have 10 full-time employees. Uh, we have about 130 caregivers, should have had 50 more because we have about 150 clients. So it's definitely that it's always a fine line, but having the right amount of caregivers and the right amount of clients, we make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you essentially say you have more clients than caregivers.
Yes. Current.
Wow, which makes scheduling and staffing even more precise and intentional and quite puzzling, puzzles to solve every day, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
great. So what were some of your core challenges that you had before working with Phoebe when it came to your people or scheduling or maybe your revenue?
I think making sure that we were getting the right caregivers. I think a lot of times when the staff was calling caregivers, they were calling them for multiple shifts or a lot of text messages. And sometimes it was spending extra time going over what the client needed or kind of where it was and looking to see how far they were or how close. So I think those were some of the challenges that they had to deal with before we were able to get Phoebe involved.
Great. Very
I
common.
would also say sending out those care planners is very limited in the amount of information you can give. So you try to condense it in one text. While with Phoebe now, you can having that conversation going and they can ask questions and it pulls from the care plan. So that's definitely been a change for us.
That's
Yeah,
what.
absolutely.
And what about I think one of the most common challenges in home care is that it's a 24/7 business. So at the end of the day, when the team goes home and you have an on-call system set up, were you finding that there was challenges with that? You maybe had staff that were taking a lot of on-call shifts, or tell us a little bit about your after hours and on-call needs.
So we've been very lucky to have, for a while, had one core person that did the weekdays, and we have one person that does the weekends. Um, I think that getting the schedule set up to cover for the weekend has always been a challenge, but I think that utilizing the shift reminders that which come in the morning and the caregivers can confirm, I think it lets them see what they have and helps them to schedule the weekend and helps the call-offs to be minimal.
That's amazing. The shift reminders that get pushed out through Phoebe.
Through Phoebe, yep, yep.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
We had, shift reminders that came through Wells Guy. But oh, unfortunately, it comes from a very generic number and they would overlook it. When it comes to Phoebe, it looks like it's a personalized text from Phoebe and they're responding back to them and they're confirming it. And so it's more of a personal, hey, you have this shift coming up tomorrow. Don't forget, set your schedule. So,
Which I love that you bring up even that word personal, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions when you use AI for outreach that it is very impersonal. So how has that been? How's that response? It sounds like it's been pretty positive, but can you talk a little bit? How is that adoption into the AI world for your caregiver? How does that?
yeah, so like you said, Heidi is very forward thinking with technology. So I think that our caregivers are pretty used to it from the beginning. Um, but we have had some older caregivers that have put up resistance, like, oh, this is AI, I don't want to use it. But what we did was set up a training with it, and we're starting with Phoebe very early in the orientation process. So it is just a thing that we do. You work with Phoebe with your schedule. Um, and you can talk to Phoebe. Letting them know they could ask Phoebe questions was a really big help. I think that at first they were kind of like, "Oh, who am I talking to?" But once they realize, "Oh, I can ask about the location. I can ask about what this client needs," then they're more apt to want to talk to Phoebe and work with her.
Great.
A big part of when you do introduce something new, whether it's technology or anything, adoption do take some time and you have to be aware of it. You cannot really expect them to adopt right away. And training is a big part of it. And that's something I think we kind of missed in the beginning a little bit, but we took it up now and we see a big change in it
Yeah,
and an
absolutely.
improvement in the use of the use of AI. AI is we're just scratching the surface of AI too. Uh,
Mhm.
and I'm very excited to see how where it takes us. I don't think it can replace necessarily the caregiving job, but it can definitely make our processes so much better and streamline them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. When you talk about bringing in Phoebe to, teams that have been well established, who's not used to the technology yet, can you give some examples of how you've had those conversations, how you've incorporated it maybe into your orientation or training? What does that look like for you?
Absolutely. So we created a PowerPoint presentation where we go over all that Phoebe can help them with to make their lives a little easier and help set up their schedule. And we end it with a live call with Phoebe. So you can kind of see how to interact with Phoebe. Same thing goes for orientation. Orientation, we take some time out and talk about Phoebe, how Phoebe's able to help you get the shifts that you want, and help you set up your schedule from the beginning. So,
And the feedback with that, have you seen a difference in how caregivers feel empowered by taking on this role?
yeah, in fact, I had someone come in the office the other day and ask me where Phoebe was. Like, so they didn't even get it was an AA. They thought it was just a person that was super helpful. So,
Amazing. What have you noticed as the leader, Heidi, kind of maybe in the response? Yeah, I think one of the common struggles with home care is getting caregivers to respond and follow the processes, the clocking in, clocking out, but also the communication. How has that helped your team communicate better?
Definitely say it helps because we get emails in, and I also know when we use the Well Sky and the Care Finders, it was hard because they had to put in a code and they had to say yes or no. And so there was no communication there. And if someone communicated back, if a caregiver asked a question, it only went to the one person that sent the care finder. While now in Phoebe, now we can all, who is in the system, we can be able to follow the conversation and be more responsive. And And it's more like a two-way communication instead of just, okay, this is a shift, call if you want it or say yes.
That's great. Well, thanks for sharing about like the adoption of Phoebe at the beginning. Love to talk a little bit more about how it's improved metrics, really when it comes to filling shifts. What have you noticed as far as shifts being filled either more timely, faster, consistently since using Phoebe?
So Phoebe has really grown since we started using it. And recently they adapted the reoccurring aspect of it and that you can pick up several shifts on one text message. And I just had one of my schedulers today tell me that they love the fact that they had one client who had 3 days open and they were able to send out that one text and someone picked them all up like right away. And people are seeing that they're getting snatched up, so they're wanting to pick them up quicker, and I think that helps. It helps the rapport of not waiting for a callback to because you were on the phone with somebody else and somebody else is waiting to find out about a care plan or that they missed, the shift because Phoebe will let you know, "Hey, this one's full, but we have other ones," or, I think that they like too that you can say, "Phoebe, I'm not available on Tuesdays," and she goes, "Oh, well, what other days are you open or would you like to let us know?" And I think that helps them to stay on top of the schedule that they're looking for. And and it's ever growing. So I just had one of my schedulers tell me today that they found a new feature on Phoebe and they thought it was so great. Like, so the fact that it's ever growing and changing, which AI does, really helps.
Amazing. Anything to add to that, Heidi? Or
Um, I was thinking of something. What was it?
I guess what it
This is the thinking in the previous program I did is I think it became the part that nobody really picked up care finders because they knew that they would need more information. So they were just expecting us to call back. And then the scheduler was left off with maybe making 20 calls for one shift. While now with Phoebe, the caregivers can ask questions and can have more of a conversation. And I think now going forward, as we have adopted now Phoebe for a few couple of months, they see that shifts are being picked up quicker. So
Mhm.
it's not just sitting there waiting for us to call them. Now they suddenly have to be more interactive in that way.
that's amazing.
I also see them more interactive with the shift alerts in the morning, seeing them confirming it, and that's something we never had with Well Sky. So
Great. And do you think some of those shifts have given your schedulers like more mental space back? Like, how have you seen them shift their role now that some of that load has been taken off of their plate?
I think it lets them be able to really make the match and send it out to several people at one time and know that the people they sent it out are a good fit, instead of actively trying each person at a time. And it's almost like having several people working as a team together with you. So that gives you some relief off some stress off your shoulders because you have a team in Phoebe calling. I think it's like 20 can call up to 20 something people at one time. So
And then has also reduced over our overhead cost here based on the hours we are billing. We should probably have had at least two, if not more, full-time schedulers, but uh, we are stuck with one lead caregiver scheduler and then Phoebe. And then we are helping in and pinching in where it is.
I think documentation too, because everything is transcribed or kept within the texting. When people call back and say, "Well, no, that's not what I meant to pick up." Well, yeah, you confirm that you were asked several times to confirm it, and I think that helps too with documentation and make sure that everybody is on the same page.
My gosh, that is such a good point. I recall my home care days hearing those conversations on the phone, the scheduler and the caregiver going back and forth, arguing in a professional way to say, I never said that. Well, yes,
Yeah,
you did. And oh my gosh, yeah, nobody wants to have that conversation with an employee if you can avoid it. So it's become an accountability tool as well, it sounds like.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Um, so tell us a little bit about your experience working with the Phoebe team. Has it been very collaborative? Have you felt technology partner is maybe different than another home care partner in the business. So how has that really been a strong suit for you in your growth with Phoebe and continuing to utilize them?
I think we've worked with several companies where the customer support or the people who are working in the background are not there. And Heidi and I really, when we embrace something, we really embrace it. We want to learn all about it. We want it to really grow and to work well with the caregivers and for the clients. And the team at Phoebe has just been exceptional. They listen when we email them. They respond back quickly. They've given us trainings. Like for the training I had, I emailed Cindy, told her what I was doing. She sent me some slides that would be great. She has been amazing. She started about the same time we started, and just she's there, she's present, she wants to be a part of it, and I'm really I think out of all of the AIs and the teams that customer service we've worked with, Phoebe's really on board with working with us.
And it seems like they're very closely working with the founders too, which I really appreciate because they have the vision and they know where they want to go. And knowing that the founders is actually listening to what we ask for, and that means a lot because it means that they want to grow and they want to figure out what works for us and not what how they think it should work. Because there's a lot of times a big discrepancy between us at least.
Yeah, and it's a big investment, right? Not only in capital, but in energy and time.
Exactly.
So, were there any hesitations you had, Heidi, when you were making the decision to work with Phoebe that you had then that you feel like you don't have now? Or like tell us a little bit about, I think about other owners maybe
Yeah.
hesitant to adopt this type of
It's
tech.
I don't know if I was hesitant. Well, maybe so I had never heard about this before. I didn't know it was an AI scheduling system. I that was like as I said, they jumped into one of the founders jumped into my LinkedIn profile and sent it like not a case study, but a video about Phoebe. I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. I want to know more. Um, from the corporate office, they had just established what they call like an AI team. They constantly looked for different AI that kind of help in our operations of the business. So I reached out to them. I said, hey, listen, have you guys heard about these? And I was like, no, but we are also intrigued now. So we had different meetings with them. So for me, after the meeting with Phoebe, I was just convinced, yes, we're going to try this out. Definitely.
That's
I
amazing.
think at first for me, I was hesitant because I've worked so long and our schedulers have worked so long in one way. And adding a new step in was like, okay, is this really working to us or is this adding on to our plate? But giving it the time and letting it grow and realizing that it is helping and it does take the stress off of trying to fill the shifts, especially now when we're in season. It I'm glad that we gave it a chance. So, I'm glad that we kept it and kept trying it, so
Yeah. And like you said, you get to kind of evolve with it as well. And having that direct line to the founders, you can give them the feedback to make it even better.
Absolutely.
So, thinking about kind of the future, and I know a lot of home care organizations, we all see this opportunity for growth. Obviously, there's a labor challenge that AI may or may not solve. But when you think about the future of staffing and scheduling in home care, what do you think needs to change more? Is it adopting things like Phoebe to preserve the integrity of your staff? Is it what kinds of things do you see in the future for home care scheduling that Phoebe can help with?
well, I really think that, having AI or having Phoebe on board to help with making sure your caregivers know exactly what they're getting into, exactly the care plan, exactly where they're going, and taking those little things off your hands helps you to be able to keep up on the flow. If you're sending Phoebe the call outs of the week, but you have a new client starting next week, and you really need to put some time into thinking about who to send for it, you're able to put that short-term stuff on to Phoebe, and now you can work on these new clients or, get them out there and start really working on that schedule. And I think that Phoebe is growing, she's adapting, she's learning our caregivers, she's learning their schedule. I know down the pipeline, they have some great things that are coming out, and so I'm excited about that, and to know that in the future it's gonna grow and keep helping us, and learning from it is definitely where I think that we benefit as a team to keep that involved.
I think it's also just important to add there also, yes, for caregivers, it's a great tool, but also to remind everyone in the office about Phoebe and what she can do because like any AI, it's input and output. So we need as much information in there for both clients and caregivers so Phoebe can learn more about everyone. And so that would be definitely something to look for us as a team also to get more involved.
We utilize a lot of tags on clients and caregivers, which helped us to move that over to Phoebe. I think without that, it would have been a challenge, but luckily Phoebe was able to look at those tags and help us. Because if we have a client with cats and a caregiver who's highly allergic to cats, we don't want to send them there, and so we can have the tag cat allergy. And now Phoebe is looking at the care plan. Oh, hey, there's a cat there. We don't want to send that to this caregiver. So that really helps.
I think that brings up a good point. Have you found that the way that your team, maybe at the front end, so I was in sales and business development, part of our role was to do the consult or the assessment, gather all the information about the home, about the client, about the family, about the needs, potential matching. Do you find that your team has gotten better to make matches happen more accurately because they can spend more time on that, making sure all the tags are in place, making sure that the amount of details you have to capture to make a good match are in there? Like, has it really helped kind of broaden the attention to detail, which at the end helps to lead to retention to clients and caregivers?
I think we have a really great staff that really wants to make that match in the beginning. But now knowing that we have Phoebe that needs that data really helps us to look for it and put it in. And there's been new tasks or new tags that we've added to help Phoebe, which I think helps. But overall, I think our main point is to make that match, which our team really strives at.
I think just to add to that, because I think a lot of times it's just human nature when you work as a scheduler, you get your core team of caregivers that you just call right away. And it just, okay, I know they're going to pick up. But I can definitely see, just go back to your previous question about how Phoebe can grow. And it's for us to be able to reach out to new caregivers that was hired last week that we don't really know anymore, like so early up. But with all the added information in, Phoebe can actually pick up that match that we didn't originally think about to begin with.
That's such a great point. I think one of the metrics I hear a lot in home care is trying to retain the caregiver within the first 90 days of being hired. And one of the reasons why caregivers aren't retained is because they're not offered work, right? Or they're not offered the right type of work that they informed, the agency that they want when they're hired. So it sounds like, have you noticed a difference with new hires getting them scheduled sooner, maybe, or more
Yes,
effectively?
because getting
Me too. Maybe Aubrey can answer that better than me. I think maybe we are still learning.
Sure, sure.
We're excited about it,
That's
how it,
something that you could even track,
yeah,
moving
yeah,
forward.
I like
Mhm.
that.
I do know that we had an orientation yesterday. It went a little long, so they weren't able to really meet with the scheduler. But she sent in some outreaches through Phoebe, and they got on a really good schedule. I got a brand new client, picked them up a couple times overnight, so a couple times a week. So she left orientation basically with a full schedule and had the care plan, knew exactly what she needed. Of course, the scheduler checked up on her today to make sure she was everything, but she's very happy because she now has a full schedule, which is awesome. So
I love that. I think one of the misconceptions when you use an AI scheduler is that human touch kind of goes away or becomes less. But it sounds like that's not the case. Can you explain a little bit how, when Phoebe sends out 20 messages and is able to come back with a few options, like how has that really helped your scheduler maintain and improve their human touch with those caregivers?
So one thing I really like that my scheduler Melissa does is when she's been putting somebody on a shift and it's their first shift, she has been following up with the family and the caregiver to see how it's going. And I think that when Phoebe's putting them on the shifts and we're getting the alert that they've been put on the shift, she's able to have the time then to go back and check in with the family and say, hey, how did it go? Was it a good fit? And that's that personal touch that she gets to keep. But another thing that it kind of frees up and helps us too is when we were sending care finders out to say 20 people, if somebody picked it up, that was it. They picked it up so other people didn't get it, and they might not be no, they might not even be alerted that the shift was filled. So they're still calling in trying to pick up the shift. But with Phoebe, she lets everybody know, hey, this shift was filled, but there are other shifts we can get you on. And I think having that personal touch of knowing that that one was filled, but let's look for something else has really helped to free up because we're not getting a bunch of calls saying, hey, do you still have that shift open? So.
I think that really changes the culture of a company in a very positive way. And you have caregivers that feel communicated with, and the expectation is now going both ways. And in my many years in home care, I can say that that's not always the norm. And I think that's why we see such a high turnover in caregivers. It just comes down to basic, human needs, which is communication and understanding. So I love that. That's a great example. Um, I would say to you, Heidi, what would you say to an agency owner or leader who feels stuck in the constant staffing chaos? And have you felt stuck in staffing chaos in the past? Or have you always just had such an amazing team? I mean, can't
No.
always see rainbows and butterflies. So I
Yeah.
challenge you a little bit.
I think that's the pure nature of fun nature of home care. You're always going to have that's always going to be, but you just have to look at it at this is just, we chose to go into this business. Uh, it is what it is, and then try to find the tools that help you. Um, I do have always said schedulers are often looked as an entry position in a home care agency, and I truly believe it's one of the core positions in the company because they do the matching. But with Phoebe and similar tools, you're now helping the scheduler to be more successful too in finding that right match. And especially when you run 150 caregivers, you cannot learn how what their preferences are at all times. So I think for any owner, we have to look at AI and any kind of tech tools out there as more of a way of help us streamline the process in the office, and not it's not replacing the human nature in any kind. We are working with people in all levels of this organization. Technology is just a tool for us to help become even better and remember the little details.
And then I would ask you, outside of the staffing role, how else have you felt you could leverage Phoebe? I mean, you're a marketing professional first. Do you see it as a way to stand out against the competition? Have your sales and business development people been talking about it in the community yet? Or are you keeping everything kind of in house for now since it is kind of new? But do you see a future where, again, trying to change misconceptions about home care operations, trying to build more trust with your clients and families and referral partners? How have you thought about it kind of outside the walls of the scheduler?
Well, we haven't really, but you're bringing up a really good point because one of the big things we're always like matching has been super important for us. And it doesn't have to be a reason because, again, we are working with people and we have different personalities. Some clients prefer a chatty catty sitting there talking 24/7, while others just want to have them come in, help them, and leave. So the matching part has always been very important for us. And I can definitely see when we get maybe a couple of months later the line and get some data in that we can now use this as a marketing tool also and say, hey, this is what we have, this is what we can prove. Um, Doing the matching criteria about it. Because everyone say they want to match a caregiver and a client, but if we are able to come and actually prove, say, this is what we do, definitely see a benefit.
Do you have anything to add to that, Audrey? Is like operations?
I think that in that, I think that the clients and the client side knowing that we're utilizing Phoebe, so they know that those little details that they have given us, like their door codes or where they've put the key or which gate code to get in, knowing that we have the caregiver can reach out at any time to Phoebe, and those little details come across, I think would give the clients a little bit more peace of mind to know that they're not waiting on just a person to answer the phone, look it up, but that the caregivers can right away text Phoebe and she can get them those answers.
And would you say, as leaders in your business, and you've been in business now almost 10 years, does Phoebe help support kind of your margin and your profitability in the company, kind of on a granular level? Have you noticed any shifts, even tiny ones so far? Maybe you're able to make up those hours that would have been a call out that would have not gone staffed otherwise. That's just one example that comes to my mind.
I think too, like Heidi said previously, the hours that we're running and the clients that we're running, we would definitely need two full-time schedulers, but Phoebe helps us overall cost to keep that second cost down by having Phoebe to help us out there. And I think that saving time and that helps us to really grow and keep our margins down.
And I also think that it gives us the option, like we can rethink how we want to organize because there's always this kind of a set standard how you have a care manager, you have a scheduler, you have like, but now when you introduce Phoebe or any other, you can start adding into because now the scheduler turn more into a care manager, really, because it's all about communicating with clients and caregivers. That it gives us an option to more look into can we add more care managers instead than making sure and Phoebe more as a scheduling tool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's great. I also think about it like, how could you add in more interaction out in the field with for the caregivers, whether that's on-site training, being able to really keep the caregivers engaged in your company and your culture and not just through, so how many caregivers maybe never step foot in an office? And I'm not
Right.
saying their business, but they just feel like they're a number on a roster. And when you have more time, when your teammates have more time for that human interaction and they're not bogged down with dealing with last minute stressors. I think there's so much more that could be done to maintain and improve the human touch. And then
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
in turn, you get to differentiate from your competitors in your market. And I think seniors, especially, I mean, I'm a millennial and I have misconceptions about AI all the time, but I would think seniors have even more. And so, really helping them understand that the AI you're using in your business is not to replace the caregiver, and that we're not sending in a robot, right? We're really here to better operationalize the work in the office so the people can be with you in your home. Yeah. Well, if you had kind of one resounding message, each of you, to send out into the home care world about Phoebe and your experience so far, what would that be? Like, what would you want people to know or
I
trust?
think
I think you
uh
have to, I mean, it goes with any kind of AI coming out there today because anyone trying to solve a problem, but you make a good point. It's like we are not there. AI is not here to replace any kind of human interactions, not at all. It's all about being a tool for streamlining your business. And for Phoebe overall, that's like I just want to go back to what Aubrey said. Working with them has been absolutely wonderful. They have been so on point, coming back to us, always answering questions, always willing to listen. And they seem to be willing to want to grow in the home care field. And that shows for us.
What about you, Aubrey? What would you say?
I would say exactly what Heidi said, that the it is what you put into it. It can help with taking away the little things so you can work on the relationships with your clients and make that match and grow and make that relationship with the office and the clients and the caregivers grow. So it can take away the little tedious tasks. So,
Yeah. And last question, how has utilizing Phoebe helped you maybe envision your future in the next 1, 3, 5 years when it comes to improvements and the impact that you want to make in your community? You know, every day there's more people turning 65. It's like 10,000 people a day. The need is going to continue to grow. We also know that the cost is quite high for private pay home care. And so, how do you see Phoebe really helping you expand if that's what your goals are or align with your goals for the future?
I'm excited in working with Cindy who came on with us. That's their rep, and hearing how Phoebe's growing can learn our caregivers when when they reach out and say, "Hey, I'm sick today. I can't take any more shifts." And the person in the office forgets that and tries to send them 4 more shifts. Phoebe's like, "Whoa, we're not going to send it to them. They said they're sick today." That's some things that's growing, and getting to know if a caregiver says, "Oh, hey, I want to work this weekend." We might forget that because we have 130 caregivers, but Phoebe, being AI, isn't gonna forget that, and she's gonna, grow and know their availability and help them to pick up those shifts, which I'm so excited for. I'm excited for the updates that are coming and really getting into it.
I was gonna add also when having that mindset that the program is input and output and start that from day one.
Mm.
And Phoebe will not resign or find a different job. She will stay here. So when schedulers leave or any other staff here leaves, she sits with the knowledge in there. So when you plug in another human being, it's not really for them to start from scratch. Phoebe already can give so much more information to that person and help them succeed way quicker than.
Absolutely.
That is such a beautiful and important leadership perspective. Thank you, Heidi, because I feel like you want your team, the person you hire to be successful. But when the person who walked away goes with all the knowledge, oh my gosh, how difficult can that be to start from scratch? And so I think from a leadership perspective, you're really considering how it helps your team succeed from new people to folks like Aubrey who've worked with you, almost a decade. So it's great. Well, I feel like we could chat about this all day, but this has been wonderful. Thank you both for your openness and your time and perspective. And congratulations on continued success in your business.
Thank you.